Welcome to the AVAIL podcast, where we dig deep and talk about the art of leadership. As always, I'm your AVAIL host, Virgil Sierra, lead pastor of Vertical Church, aka Iglesia Vertical in South Florida, where we are one church, two languages. And today, here on AVAIL, we're sitting down with Pastor Jeff Baker. Jeff is the executive director of Church Boom, and in this episode, we'll be discussing Church Boom's initiatives to rescue churches, to help the institution that's here to help people, and of course, to support pastors and leaders who are looking for some resources and some help. So lean in, leaders. Let's get started. Pastor Jeff, I'm so excited to be here on this conversation with you. I've had the opportunity to connect with Pastor Chris Sonkson, who is also your partner in Church Boom. But here we are meeting, connecting. Our AVAIL audience is leaning in. How does it feel to be on the AVAIL podcast?
Oh, man, I love it. I mean, I know you can't see it, but behind me is a little spot where I meet with the team and the couch and everything, and there's a nice little coffee table there. AVAIL magazine is on the table. So it's epic.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Before we jump in to some leadership talk, to some church, pastor, ministry talk, which I'm always pumped to talk about, tell us a little bit about yourself, Pastor Jeff.
Hey, man, I'm 54 years old. I've been in full-time ministry now for almost 3 decades. I've been pastoring here in Nebraska for like 25 years. I've been the lead pastor of this church for the last 11. Grabbed a hold of it when it was one church, one location, one service, 500, 550 people. And in the last decade, man, we've grown now to 5 physical campuses, running 2,000 plus people. We've got tons of people getting saved and baptized, and man, just ministry trips and missions trips and all kinds of fun stuff. So ministry's a blast. Been married for 37 years. To my wonderful wife, 4 adult children, 11 grandchildren. So life is amazing. It is full of energy. We've got people coming and going from our house like we are a local hotel. So it is a crazy, crazy time. And in the midst of all of that, Chris Sonkson and I, work together in a ministry called Church Boom. Right?
First of all, I already like it, Pastor Jeff, because you're fruitful. You're a fruitful man.
Oh,
and I love,
hey,
and in ministry, we need to see that too, in addition to family. You just mentioned it, Church Boom, which, by the way, I think is one of the coolest names for like a church organization.
Oh, yeah.
I love this. I love this. So we've had Pastor Chris Sonkson on AVAIL before, talking about some of his books and Church Boom. Yeah. So I want to know, how did you guys get connected? How did you meet, and how did this kind of connection happen for Church Boom?
You remember the old show on TV called Love Boat?
Yes.
They went on a cruise, and all of these epic things took place. We were actually on a cruise to Alaska, and we were there, and this group's over there, and they're hanging out, and Chris and his wife Laura and me and my wife Kim, and we're just kind of like over in this little spot, drinking our coffee, and we're cracking up. We're telling each other jokes. I laughed so hard that night that my gut was hurting, my cheek muscles hurt the next day. And so the next day we run into each other, and we're just and so we decided, like, wow, we love this friendship. And we just kept running into each other, and then we're texting each other, and we're Zoom calling each other. And quite honestly, here's what happened. In ministry, one of the problems of ministry that we'll talk about here is that 70% of pastors don't have a close friend.
Wow.
That's an unfortunate fact that is true across America. And so Chris and I, we started to build this friendship. We were just friends. I mean, we loved the Lord. We loved ministry. We had some very similar things we liked in common. Like, we both like peanut butter. We both the list just kind of went on and on and on, right? And so anyways, he kept talking to me about Church Boom. And I was like, dude, I'm all in. All in. Let's rescue churches, right? Let's coach pastors. Like, I'm all in. And then he's like, I would love to work with you more, Jeff, but my biggest thing is that I love our friendship more, and I don't want anything to come between us and our friendship, because there's something about this friendship that I cherish. And it's really because, in ministry, it's easy to become emotionally unhealthy and stand on a platform and tell everybody what to do.
Yeah.
And it's because we don't have healthy relationships. And I felt the same way with Chris. But eventually, the need of what's happening in America and the plight of what's happening in churches became too great for a friendship. And we said, look, let's just lean in. We love one another, and we love the Lord. We're committed to each other. We're committed to the Lord. And let's just see what in the world can we do if we lock arms. And that's what we've been doing for well over a year now, and it's been a blast.
That's so cool. That's so cool. So you guys connect. You guys have decades of ministry experience and pastoring experience. You have a heart that is in tune with each other on the side of both rescuing churches that need to be rescued and also coaching pastors and providing resources. So talk to us about the mission. What's the mission of Church Boom?
Well, I think the real mission of Church Boom can be summed up in a very short statement, that we coach pastors and rescue churches. But why do we do that? And we do that because the American church needs to be rescued. But then what's the bigger why? Well, the bigger why is that we live in a country who started itself on the foundations of a fully devoted kind of following of Christ, and it has well diverted from that. Our nation, I think as all of us know, we're all great leaders that are listening to this podcast. We know that we now in Christianity have become the minority in our own nation.
Wow.
So when we're looking at the darkness of our nation and we're looking at the plight of our nation where morality is at an all-time low and division among people groups is at an all-time high, and we've got politics that is incredibly divisive, that's pulling us apart instead of pulling us together. Hate and anger are skyrocketing. The local church, man, is closing its doors like crazy. Right now, we know that we are closing more churches than we're opening. In fact, there are many statistics out there that will tell you that there are 100 to 200 churches that are closing their doors every Sunday, Virgil.
Wow.
Can you believe that, bro?
No.
Can you believe that? Right now, just a recent study that just came out said for every 1,000 churches we plant in America, 2,000 churches close.
Wow.
So here, what's happening is this. We can celebrate a brand new church that's being planted, and I do, by the way. At New Life, man, we give generously to start new churches. But the issue is that a lot of these churches that were planted back in the 50s and 60s are now closing their doors.
Wow.
Something happened. They became irrelevant. They lost connection with the community. Something happened. They stopped growing. They stopped booming, if you can say it that way, right?
Right.
They lost something. And so we come along and we're like, look, we want to keep the light of Jesus Christ shining bright in communities. I think that every single community deserves to have multiple life-giving churches that are like fishing lines in the water of the community. Each one of them has a different lure, right? They're going to attract a little bit of a different kind of a person. You just said at the beginning of this podcast, man, you listed off your church and you spoke in that heavenly language of Spanish. We all know that that's what's that heaven sounds like that. And there you go. Jesus, right? And you said, look, there's a uniqueness about your church. You're one church with two
languages.
That's exactly right. I'm one church with 5 locations.
Yeah.
There's another church that's more liturgical. There's other churches that are more Pentecostal.
Yeah.
I just think, look, it's not about those things. It's about the light of Jesus Christ shining bright in communities. And right now, the light of Jesus Christ is going out in communities, and Church Boom's standing there. We're going, not on our watch. Like, on our watch, we're going to do anything and everything we can to come alongside pastors who are getting ready to walk away from ministry, lean in, grab a hold, lock arms, and go, let's build this church together. You're not alone, Pastor. You are not alone. We can do this thing together. And I think as great leaders listening to this podcast, none of us got to where we are because we did it solo. Nobody listening to this podcast became a great leader because they're doing it by themselves.
Right.
We all can look back and say, well, there was this guy, there was that lady, there was this mentor, there was this partner. We all have those people, and the local pastor, the local church needs that too.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I'd like to pick your brain a little bit here, Pastor Jeff, specifically in the aspect, because this is concerning. The current state of the Christian church in America is concerning. Why are we seeing a downward trend in pastor retention and an upward trend in burnout? What are some of the signs? What are some of the reasons why we're seeing these statistics?
Well, I think there's a downward trend because America is getting darker, and that means that the ministry is getting harder. It used to be you just open up your doors on a Sunday, people come in. That's not the case anymore,
Right.
right? It used to be people wanted to know, what does the Bible say? Now people hate what the Bible says.
Right.
It once used to be that if you called yourself a pastor, man, you went out to eat at a restaurant, sometimes they would give you that meal for free. You showed up someplace. I mean, there was a sense of honor in the role of the shepherd, in the role of the pastor. We don't live in that America anymore, and we don't live in that world anymore. It's gotten a lot more difficult. The problem, Virgil, is that I think we're still trying to do ministry like we did back then. And that we're still trying to do it like back then. You could kind of be on your own little island because people wanted to be on your island with you. See, so you could do your thing. You could do it the way you want it. You could say it the way you wanted to say it. You could preach it the way you wanted to preach it. People wanted to be on your island. Now you're trying to get on everyone else's island. And I think pastors are struggling with this. They're having a hard time with this. Number one, because they can't find relationships that are healthy for themselves. So pastors are struggling with healthy relationships. Pastors are struggling with techniques of ministry that are actually going to work in this day and in this age and in this culture.
Yeah.
Right. And there's this tension. There's this tension right now between, okay, I got to hold true to the mission. The mission is the same. The mission for Paul is the same as the mission for Jeff Baker, for Virgil, and for anyone else listening, that there is an infallible word of God that's like doesn't need to change. It is perfect. There is the authority of Christ that doesn't need any fixing or any changing. That's all true. There is the love of the Father that doesn't need to be changed. It is all factual. There is the empowerment of the Holy Spirit that's given to us by the authority of Christ to do the work of ministry. All of that is the mission. And Jesus said, take all of that and go into this dark world and make disciples.
Yeah.
That's the mission. So, Virgil, that's not what needs to change.
Right.
Nobody's changing that. At Church Boom, we're locked in. We're anchored in that.
Yep.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to change the methods. And I think the methods are where we find burnout.
Right.
Pastors have the wrong methods. So they're hanging on to the methods of a decade or longer ago. And if you're looking at this world, just look at technology. How fast does technology change? All right? Technology changes fast. That means that the way people think changes fast as well. That means the expectations of people changes fast. If you're using old, archaic methods to minister to today's world, you're going to get burnt out because you're going to feel like you are climbing the never-ending mountain. You can't do that. You can't do that. So we want to anchor pastors in the mission. We want to encourage them. We want to come alongside them and go, you're called by God. You are called by the creator of the universe. He spoke the world into existence. He spoke you into existence. He spoke his church into existence. You have purpose. There's a call. We want to help anchor that call. They're walking away from the call of God. I mean, Virgil, Jesus himself spoke to you and to me, and he said, do what we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I want to honor that call. When pastors get discouraged, they walk away from the call. So I want to anchor them in the call, and I want to help them think about new, fresh methods that are going to get them traction so they can move forward. If we do that and we do it together, I think, number one, we will stop the attrition of pastors walking away from ministry, right? Because right now, Virgil, 40% of pastors that this preached last Sunday, after that sermon, they went home and they thought to themselves, I'm going to apply for that UPS job.
Wow.
I'm going to go back into teaching. And both of those occupations are great, right? I love my UPS guy, and I love the teachers that teach my kids and my grandchildren. But if you're called by God, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But 40% of them are thinking about doing that. It's because they're trying these methods that are not working, and that's defeating. Anybody that tries something and keeps losing is not going to want to keep winning. They're not going to want to do that. People want to be on a winning team. Church Boom, we come alongside. We give you practical application. We give you tools and resources. We equip you to think differently, to visionize again, to create a healthy culture in your church, to help you start winning again. And if we can help pastors to start winning again, realize they're not alone. They're connected to a tribe of people that love them, believe in them, and are all going in the same direction. Not only will pastors stop walking away from ministry, pastors will start thriving in ministry.
Come on, that's what we need to see. Now, it's funny because everything I'm amening you here as you're talking, because it's so true, especially when it comes to pastors and churches. Sometimes are using just old methods, but I never made the connection that you just said. If you use old methods to minister to today's world, that leads to burnout. And I think that hits home for a lot of people, because I don't know that anybody wants to. But I think people get comfortable. So here's my question to you. How does Church Boom, how do you guys aim to flip the script on a practical level, and what you guys offer? Talk to me about that.
Well, let's start at like step one. So the average church in America, Virgil, is somewhere between 60 and 70 people. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, think with me. If that's the average, how many of these churches are below that? Because like my church is coming in at 2,000 people on an average Sunday. So what is my church really? Okay. What's your church coming in at? What about these people that are listening, leaders on this call, pastors on this call? They're thinking about their church and they're going, well, my church is 400. My church is 500, right. 600, 300, 200, right? So how many of these churches have to be below 60 to make the average between 60 and 70?
Wow.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot of them, Virgil. So now think with me about inflation. Think with me about utility bills. What about the church? How do they keep the lights on? How do they keep the furnace going? How do they keep all of this happening, right? So they don't have a lot. So we've got a lot of churches that are in a very, very difficult spot. So what we do first and foremost is we focus on the church that's below 100, because that church needs to be rescued. That is a church that might be 1 month away from being able to pay its utility bills and close the doors. That might be a church that's 1 month away from the pastor going, I'm out of here, man. Like, this isn't working. I'm done with this. I'm doing something else. So we offer them a free 10-month coaching process.
That's cool.
For 10 months, we come alongside them. We help them with practical things like, look, like how do you get the right metrics so that you actually know if you're winning? Most pastors are counting what? Nickels and noses, man. That's the way I say it. That doesn't tell you if you're winning, right? I mean, there's way better metrics. So number one, we got to flip the script, and we got to go, there's different metrics you got to be looking at. We talked to them about how to create a healthy ministry team, how to create healthy culture in your church. I mean, culture itself is a game changer. And culture is actually something easy to create, but you just got to do 3 simple things. You got to tell the right stories, make the right heroes, and celebrate the right things. 3 things, right? We come alongside these guys and we help them understand that. And there's a lot of other things. So for 10 months, there's free online group coaching. And in the middle of that, Virgil, I'm so excited about this, bro. In the middle of that, we send pastors away on a soul care retreat. It's a 4-day soul care retreat. They get themselves there. We pay for the rest of it because we pay for it all because we want to invest into them. You get there and we pay for it. It's a 4-day soul care retreat. So now in this 10-month period of time, we're focused on practical methods that are going to help you move your church forward, right? We're focused on your spiritual health. We're focused on, your emotional health and your mental health. We're focused on the holistic picture of a pastor over those 10 months, and we're having incredible victory stories from pastors that are going through our 10-month of free coaching.
Yeah, I would imagine you guys are seeing seeing and hearing some amazing stories, because I love that mark that you guys have. We want to go after those churches that are under 100. Because there's something important there, and then there's a significant breakthrough there as well to see, crossing over that 100 mark. But it's so true for the average church in America to be 60 to 70. Wow, there's a lot of churches that are definitely in that below that. So you've been sharing a little bit about some of the services that you guys offer in the coaching, for Church Boom, and as far and the initiatives, right? I know there's also Church Boom University. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Church Boom University is something that we launched not too long ago. It is a $29 subscription per month. But on it, Virgil, it has multiple master level classes from leaders such as Chris Sonkson, Dr. Sam Chan, even Martine, and some other great leaders that have launched their master classes on our platform. Now, why do we do this? And why is there a fee? Because some things we can do for free, but we can't do everything for free. And I think that, number one, that if you're given everything for free as a pastor, at some point you don't value what you have.
Right.
So there has to be a level of investment. So $29 a month is pretty cheap to get their hands on online video-based master classes that they get to go through these things and learn and grow. And the reason why we do that, Virgil, is because, look, let's say that like in the rescuing process, some pastors will sign up for this. Other times after the rescue process, after the 10 months, they'll sign up. They'll go, okay, what's next for my life?
Sure.
Well, here's what's next for your life. Get a part of the Church Boom University. Because in the end, Virgil, I think I'm going to say a statement that most leaders listening to this podcast, they agree with, and they probably even said out of their own mouth. And that's this, that when the pastor grows, the church grows.
Right.
Now, they may have said it differently, right? Because you could say it differently. You could say it, hey, when the dad grows, the family grows.
Right.
When the business leader grows, the business grows. I mean, there's multiple ways to say that, but when the pastor grows, the church grows. So we don't want to just like go through the 10-month program and go, hey, congratulations, you passed the class, and then go, good luck, right? We don't want to do that. We've started a 10-month relationship. We want to continue it. And so Church Boom University is that $29 a month fee or membership so that you can get it. We keep dropping new material on there. And check this out, Virgil. When new material gets dropped onto CBU, we mail out the book that goes with the material. We're mailing out other resources. I just got off of a Zoom call that was a Church Boom University Zoom call with one of our authors who just wrote a brand new book and is launching a brand new series on Church Boom University that's going to be a 40-session series. I mean, it is epic. That's a lot of material on leadership, practical leadership. But Virgil, I think the right question you would ask me next is there a way that a pastor could actually get that for free?
Is there? I want to know.
Virgil,
tell me.
This is such a great question. Like, what? Something that's $29 a month? I can actually get it for free? And here's what we do, Virgil. We have created what's called the Church Boom Network. So as a church goes through our 10-month free coaching, or let's say you're Jeff Baker, man, you're leading a church of 2,000. I don't need to be rescued. What I need to be is I need to be a part of rescuing other churches. So we created the Church Boom Network for pastors of all different sized churches and evangelical denominations to come together and be a part of a tribe. And in that network, you get monthly Zoom calls with groups where Pastor Chris and myself have gone into the studio. We've recorded high-level leadership, actionable material where you discuss that as a group on a monthly basis. You help us to fund a movement. There's no membership fee to the network. I want to be very clear with that. There's no membership fee to the network. It's all about coming together as a tribe of like-minded, hearted people who want to rescue America one church at a time and going, I want to help fund a movement. If you join the Church Boom Network and you go, Jeff, I want to help fund a movement, Virgil, I give you the Church Boom University for free.
Cool.
And there is no membership fee. There's no number. I don't hold it over your head. I don't come back to you. You know, we don't have Italian pastors that fly over here and come knock on your door and go, hey, you owe me the money. We don't have that. We got none of that. It's just, you want to help fund a movement of rescuing America one church at a time. I want you a part of our tribe.
Yeah.
And then in doing so, I want to give you something that's going to add incredible value to you throughout the rest of your ministry, because all the time, Virgil, every year, multiple times a year, we're dropping brand new material on the Church Boom University. So
yeah,
I don't know.
That's cool.
I don't know how you would say no to that.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think there probably are a lot of pastors and churches listening that say, hey, I would love to be a part of a movement and an initiative that is rescuing churches that are in need of rescue. I love that. You know what, Pastor Jeff? Before sharing a little bit about maybe some future dreams and plans for Church Boom, I'd love, could you share maybe like kind of like a success story, or maybe a story that stands out of a church or a pastor that somehow you guys were able to pour into, maybe in a very desperate season or moment of the church's existence, or even the pastor's journey, that you can kind of share with us as an example of a win with Church Boom?
Yeah, I think it's great. Now, just for namesake, I'm gonna keep the actual name of the pastor. I'll just keep it to myself.
Yes.
But I want you to know that what I'm getting ready to tell you is a real life story with a real pastor that I was just with 2 weeks ago. Okay,
Wow.
Flesh and blood guy. He would be more than happy to get on here. He'd probably tell me, Jeff, just mention my name. It doesn't matter. But he pastors a church in Willard, Ohio. I challenge anybody on this podcast to be able to reply back to your podcast and go, I've actually spent the night in Willard, right? Because none of them have.
Right.
But this guy has right here. I've spent the night in Willard. All right. Willard is a town of 6,000 people, and you don't get there, by accident. Let's just put it that way. You have to purposely want to go to Willard. This pastor was in Florida, sensed God calling him to go to Willard, and he interviews at this small Pentecostal church that had 15 people at it at the time, and they vote him in. Now, he's like baffled. Like he doesn't even know, God, why you calling me up here? Like, this is crazy. 15 people. I'm moving from Florida. I'm going to actually buy a winter coat. This is nuts. And this guy, he gets elected. Well, right after he gets elected, the presbyter of that section over those churches calls him up and says, dude, what are you doing? I was going to close that church next month. He goes, well, you're not going to close it now. I'm the pastor. And so the presbyter says, I'm going to give you 1 year to see if you can get some traction going, or otherwise we're closing this church down.
Wow.
So the pastor of the church of 15 scrambles, and he runs into Church Boom, and he gets a hold of us, and he gets into our 10-month free coaching. Virgil, long story short, at the end of the 10 months, not only has he acted on this material, because what we do is you go through the 10-month, you meet once a month with your coach and with other pastors, and then you take that material and you start investing it into the leaders at your church. So he starts doing this. Here's the kicker. In the middle of the 10 months, the guy gets cancer.
Wow.
So now he has to go, and he's driving up to Cleveland every day or multiple times a week getting his cancer treatment, so he can't finish the Church Boom.
Wow.
He gets cancer free, joins back in again, okay, and then he finishes it. His church right now, it's not at 100 yet, okay, but he is closely getting there. His church now is running between 80 and 90 people walking through the doors of this town of 6,000, wow. And he is on a rampage. He's found fresh vision. His church sits in the parking lot of the brand new school they built in Willard. It's the school that goes from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade. And he's got around 300 students coming from that school every week over to his church in the middle of the day to receive like religious training. There is this like class release time thing that he's taking advantage of. And he's got more kids coming into his church on a weekly basis. And his weekends went from 15 to 80 to 90. I'm telling you this, Virgil, this guy in Willard, Ohio, because he would say to you, he would go, my church is rescued because of what I learned through Church Boom. His church is on a rampage to become an influential church in that community, that if his church went away, the community would actually know it. And I was just say this, like, if it can happen in Willard, Ohio, to a guy who takes over a church of 15, it can happen anywhere.
Come on. I love that. I love hearing stories like that because they motivate and inspire you to believe God is at work. And if we're willing to say, God, here I am, use me, I think that's what you guys are doing with Church Boom. You know, in a moment, I'm going to ask you to share how people can find out and learn more about Church Boom and connect with you. But I guess the question I have to kind of a final stretch here is, as far as the future dreams and plans for Church Boom, as you look ahead, Jeff, as you and Pastor Chris, as you guys kind of look ahead, what are some of the things you envision and dream through Church Boom?
I think the biggest dream, Virgil, and this is going to be audacious, and people are going to hear me say this, and they're going to go, it's never going to happen. So I'm going to say it regardless because that's what good visionaries do. Virgil, we really believe this with all of our heart, that America can be rescued.
Come on.
It's just not going to be rescued through politics, right? It's not going to be rescued through any of the things that you hear on your nightly news. Those pieces will be elements, but
Sure.
we actually believe that America can be rescued again. And so what's our big dream? Our big dream is to rescue America one church at a time. We want to find a way to put a life-giving church within reach of every single American, and we want to do that with multiple churches. It's, again, back to the beginning of our conversation. It's not going to be one church in a community that reaches a community. My community, Virgil, tens of thousands of people are going to go to hell. They don't have a church.
Right.
You know, so why am I fighting over one church person that moves from my church to another one? There are plenty of lost people. Our nation is lost, and our big vision is we want to reach this nation while we are alive. We want to do it. It's on our watch. And we just refuse to stand before Jesus on the day that we get to enter into heaven and just to tell him, well, I'm glad I got saved. Nope. We refuse to do that. Like,
No
for
way.
us, it's on our watch. This is our moment. Man, we are going
Yep.
to stand there with tens of thousands of churches that represent millions of people walking through the gates and spending eternity with Jesus in heaven. We just happen to believe America can be rescued. It's just going to take one church
Yeah.
at a time.
Yeah, I like it. I like the perspective. I love it. Pastor Jeff, I love the vision of Church Boom. I've told Pastor Chris, I love it. You guys are awesome, and I love that he put this in your hearts and that there's more people joining the network. And I think that there may be some pastors listening in right now, maybe even members or leaders in some churches that are saying,
Yeah.
I think we could use this. How can people connect with Church Boom, find out more about Church Boom, reach out to you or the team? How can they do that?
I think the best way is just to go to our website, churchboom.org. At churchboom.org, you can get everything we talked about and more. You're a business leader. We're looking for business leaders. We're not just looking for pastors. We need business leaders as well. There's techniques that we have found through Christ-centered business leaders that, man, we can connect you with other pastors, and some of those techniques will unlock the doors of a church. So if there's business leaders, go to churchboom.org, and you can find out more information about us. You're a pastor of a church, go to our website. There's tons of resources. You can get started right now. You're a church under 100? Man, you just heard I got tons of stuff for you. You're a leader, and man, you just want to be a part of what we're doing. You want to pray for us. Just go to churchboom.org. Everything is there. You can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of the rest of our staff on our website.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. A couple of quick response questions for you, Pastor. No thinking. It's got to be quick. All right?
Yep, got it.
Here's the first question. What do you like to do for fun?
Fly an airplane.
Wow. Okay. What makes you laugh?
Flying an airplane. No, just
This looks like one of those
you said,
blooper
look, bro, you
Feud-
got to be.
Family Feud.
You're like,
blooper
you got to be
videos.
fast, man. So I'm like, I'm gonna use the same answer for all of them. That's what I'm gonna do.
Hey, but it could apply. It could apply. It could apply. All right.
What makes me laugh? Hanging out with my grandchildren.
Okay. Good. What's your favorite food?
Oh man, anything with peanut butter in it.
All right. A church
Peanut butter
or a
pie, specifically.
Ooh. A
Yeah.
church or a pastor that has inspired you in your journey?
A church or a pastor that's inspired me in my journey. I'm going to have to go to an old name. His name's Pat Donaldson, and nobody knows him. Because
All right.
if without Pat, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
That's good. That's good. What breaks your heart?
Lost people who think that Jesus isn't enough for them, think they don't qualify, think that this is as good as life is going to get. Breaks my heart. Breaks
Yep,
my heart.
Breaks my heart too. Breaks my heart too. I love it. Pastor Jeff, as we finish off here, I just want to say it's always an honor to have leaders and pastors like yourself that are just wanting to make a difference. And I think you guys are making a difference through Church Boom. Just want to remind everybody, churchboom.org. Come on, don't just go there, but share that website with a lot of people, a lot of pastors and ministry leaders that you know. What's the final thought you want to leave us with, a final word of encouragement?
I just want to leave us with this. There is hope for tomorrow, guys. Look, don't look with just your physical eyes around you. If you look with your physical eyes and you look around us, then man, we'll close the doors of churches and walk away because we'll be like, man, it doesn't matter, right? We will kind of hunker in with our little Christian group and we'll just go, well, this is safe right here. Let's not get out there. It's going to get dangerous out there. People don't like us. Dude, I just had a coach in one of our towns where we have a campus. I just found out today that she was fired from being a coach because online on her Facebook account, she had this prayer thing going on with her athletes. They just fired her. I just found out about it today. So what I'm saying is this. The world around us seems like it's crushing in on Christianity. I want to look at everybody. I want to look them in the eye and go this. Look, have hope. Because greater is he who is in us than he who is in the world. Jesus is the one who said it. He has already overcome this world. So guys, come on, let's get out there. Let's keep loving people in Jesus' name. Let's keep dreaming for a better tomorrow. And let's keep letting the influence of the local church change the community one soul at a time.
Love it, love it, love it. Pastor Jeff, on behalf of our AVAIL team, on behalf of Dr. Sam Chand, Martijn Van Tilborg, everybody who's behind the scenes over here at AVAIL, we honor you. We're thankful for you, for your life, for your ministry. And we're so excited to see what God's going to do and continue to do through Church Boom.
Hey, thank you, Virgil. I appreciate this opportunity, man. Love it.
Yes, sir. Well, I hope you've been blessed, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the AVAIL podcast. For more leadership resources, check us out at theartofleadership.com. Make sure to claim your free trial subscription of the AVAIL Journal at availjournal.com. As always, I'm your AVAIL podcast host, Virgil Sierra. Muchas gracias. Thank you for connecting with us to learn the art of leadership here at the AVAIL podcast.